Just by way of introduction, my name is Ishank and I lead the India business for Redis. And to be honest, I've really been looking forward to our conversation with Suresh. As you know, India is full of exciting customer stories, but this is really a special one. So I'm really really grateful to Suresh for doing this for us. Thank you, Suresh. And if you could please share with us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Apna's journey, both as a company and as a platform.
Sure. First of all, good evening, Vishank, and thank you. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk about Apna and Apna's journey so far. And a little bit about myself. More than 19 years of experience in the industry. I started as a performance engineer, moved into SRE, DevOps, and then platform engineering. And I managed, platform, DevOps, SRE, security, and few other areas at Apna. And Apna is, I think we just celebrated our 4th anniversary, 1 month back. And Apna is a mission-oriented organization. Our mission is to, bring opportunities and networking opportunities to India's blue-collar, workforce. And if you look at traditionally India, why we white-collar people have a lot of opportunities in terms of jobs, networking, and other areas, blue-collar segment has been very fragmented and it's very middleman oriented, right? So we wanted to solve that problem. And it's a very interesting story how it started, from a chal in Dharavi in Mumbai, where our founder actually went in, disguised himself as an electrician and figure out, what are the challenges, blue collar workers face, right? And that's how Apna got started. And the mission is, to provide those opportunity to millions of blue collar workers in India. And we know in India, there are jobs, there are opportunities, and there are people who are right fit for those opportunities, but they are just not connected, right? So employers face issues of getting right candidate, and candidates face, issues of, right kind of opportunity where they want and when they want. So that's how Apna started. So primarily we are a jobs marketplace. We have more than 40 million users on our platform. And more than, I think 300,000 employers hiring through us. Okay. And we have enabled millions of professional, conversation between employers and candidates to candidates also. So Apna is not only a jobs marketplace, Apna is also a community of these people, and vertical community where people from the same kind of vocation can connect with each other and learn from each other. So I think that was something which was thoroughly missing in India. While white collar space, skilled labor space was more or less, engaged, but, we also started with providing so that these people can upskill themselves, and, get the opportunity, suitable for them. So that's a little bit about Apna and myself, Dishan.
Well, I mean, I'm just so honored. It's, Apna is leading with such a noble sort of initiative as an organization and sort of almost putting our blue collar, workers first. And that's huge. It's certainly a segment that goes underserved, unnoticed, but I'm really, really grateful that Apna is driving this initiative. And certainly you're leaving a mark with the impact that you're creating. Interestingly, since I joined Redis about 3 years back, I started looking at sort of the platforms such as Apna from a technology builder's perspective. And so from that standpoint, looking at Apna, I feel it must be really challenging to work with such a limited screen space, and especially with, so many of your users being first-time internet users. So could you tell us a little bit about how you're developing such an incredible customer experience for your user group?
Sure. I think, that journey has been quite, both challenging and satisfying. And given the growth we had, right, around, 1 year of company, COVID stuck, right? And then after lockdowns, when things started opening up, right? And then, the impact which COVID had on, people, across the nation. So I think, it just took off, right? And we wanted to make it, super simple for people. Like we didn't even start with, normally when we say hiring, it's hiring is all about your resume and CV, right? We didn't have a concept of CV because most of the blue collar worker will not have access to a laptop to create a CV, right? We didn't want it to be a blocker for them, right? We didn't want it to be, a handy, a virtual identity card. You just need a phone number. And thankfully with the telecom revolution in India, right? Data being so cheap, everybody having a smartphone. We rode on that wave, okay? And we said, okay, hey, how can we use this, to actually fulfill our mission? And that's where, we only have an Android app, right? Because our target segment only uses Android, right? So, and then, how do we connect both of these? Like, so it has been, I would say, multifaceted challenge, okay? In terms of, okay, as you said, okay, limited screen space, right? Different form factor of devices, different kind of data speed, even in remote areas. How do we give a seamless experience to our, end user, right? So what are candidates interested in? They are looking for jobs, right? How do we provide them, right job to them, right? It's not like, there is an endless feed, you have to go and search, right? And I would say, that was a start, and then we have been learning throughout, the learning haven't stopped yet. We keep on improving, to provide, relevant recommendation to our job seekers, our candidates. And also the same thing, okay, hey, how do we make life easier for our employers, right? If somebody is trying to hire in cities at the same time, a new business starting up, right? You look at, Jepto, Blinkit, or, HDFC, Argo, Bajaj Capital, right? Most of these organizations, they need to hire in multiple cities at the same time, right? Where they are expanding. How do we make life easier for recruiters also? So a lot of data science, a lot of, I would say a lot of technology goes behind it, not only just data science, but yeah, and while we started, it was an idea, we were just, launching it in one city, two city, and then suddenly, that happened, which we even didn't as an organization anticipated. And like everybody starts with a monolith, right? Everybody starts with, okay, go and put it out and let's see if it works or not, right? And then gradually we had all those teething troubles, right? Systems getting slow, systems going down, user count increasing every day, thousands of users coming in a single day, right? So that's where we started our journey from, monolith to microservices. And that has been also, I would say, very great experience, a lot of learning there, to figure out, okay, how do we do it right? And we didn't do it right the first time, right? It took us some time, iterate, experiment, and figure out what works for us. And at the same time, we have been trying to, when we were growing, right, as an organization also, how do we ensure, we doesn't slow down, our velocity doesn't slow down with number of engineers, right? How can we reduce the communication overhead between the team when you are growing like at such a fast pace? So we invested a lot in building our own platform. We invested a lot in, making the developer experience better so that we can keep serving our end users, whatever their needs. And I can tell you, it has been changing, like the amount of, things we do, to make it easy for our candidates, that has never stopped, right? We can't say better, and then, so we keep on listening to feedback and we keep on improving our applications.
Yeah. No, I'm certainly, as I'm listening to the story, I hear, or rather sort of think about, so many challenges that you will certainly run into. From the look of it, it sounds like the platform is context aware in the sense that you're not, flooding a particular user with hundreds of thousands of jobs, but you're sort of making more context aware recommendations based on the job seeker's profile. And then you're doing the same across the employer side as well, so that they are seeing more context aware candidates that are a better fit. So could you sort of double click on how Apna is architected to deliver this sort of customer experience at scale in terms of these context aware recommendations as well?
Yeah. So see, broadly, we are, cloud native, we are fully in cloud. We are digital native, as I said, more, it's an Android app for the users, right? And we started with monolithic architecture. So your, usual stuff, Python and, running it on VMs. And gradually we started moving to, microservices. Obviously, you will run them in Kubernetes. There will be a lot of, caching, obviously Redis. That's why we are here, right? And, Kafka, streaming, messaging, and lot of, document-oriented databases, different kind of, lot of analytics. And coming specifically to how do we provide context of a recommendation, or the job feed. So basically, when you open Apna's app, you will see a job feed, right? And whatever information you have provided, the candidate or job seeker has provided us in terms of their experience, or even if they have a resume today, let's say, we kind of identify opportunities. And Apna is more of a hyper local, while we do have work from home or remote jobs also, and we are allowing. So getting, users location, figuring out where they are, what are the jobs in that area which are more fit. And see, we keep on, getting, feedback from our employers. We keep on getting feedback from our candidates. And across the period, we have kind of evolved our, algorithms, and that's our USP, right? Which can tell you, okay, hey, this is what, these jobs, kind of, more suitable for this group of people, right? Or particular person. And not only that, right? Even when you are kind of scrolling through our job feed, right? Like you go, right, on an item-based list, right? We keep on, okay, where you are engaging with, jobs, right? Have you looked at what kind of impression? So even, based upon that, it feeds back into our algorithm to figure out, how does, it helps, to what are the most relevant jobs, what are the most relevant categories. And see, one very clear challenge is, in blue collar and early white collar. Now we are also in early white collar or gray collar workspace. And again, this terminology is very right. What we have seen is, the job titles, right? They are not like very clear, right? There is a lot of overlap, when you say business development or a sales development representative or inside sales, right? Different categories, right? So how do we make sense out of it? Even when, employer submits a JD, right? How can we, make sure that, what they're writing in the JD and what we are looking into the candidate, and both ways, right? So I think a lot of, data science, a lot of, analytics goes behind this, a lot of machine learning models, but I think that's our use.
Got it. Makes sense. Yes, certainly. So are you sort of also pre-fetching sort of these the results of these data models into the application so that the users would find more relevant jobs faster?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. When you run these kind of algorithms, it's not always, super simple to do it in real time, like when you are running any inference or, those kind of things. So, it's just like, when you are on a job feed and you will see, it's very fast, right? Because on mobile screen, it's not only a lot of other, competition to gain your attention, right? And so we want it to be quite fast. So once you go and open our feed, right, we actually prefetch a lot of data for you, right? And when we are building the job feed for you, when we are calling, okay, hey, like we categorize, we recommend categories, right? So we have a service for that. We want to show what kind of details, okay, what salary range you are looking for, or, kind of experience or education, right? So all those number crunching, which has happened before, we kind of, keep it in the cache, Redis, and actually we prefetch it for you. And job feed and another profile, right? So obviously both two are very intricately connected, right? So based upon this profile information, based upon, their location and other areas, and we already have that data crunching done that, okay, hey, this is where, these are the jobs which are relevant for you.
So right. And that's where you do the matchmaking between job profiles and candidates. Makes sense. So understandably, you're using a lot of Redis. Could you share with us a little bit about what made you choose Redis Enterprise to drive this customer experience? And I think you mentioned somewhere developer productivity as well. So what prompted you to, start with Redis Enterprise?
Okay. So I would say it was a confluence of reasons. Okay. Not just a single reason, right? And then as I told you, mentioned, and I think I can't talk enough about it, that the way we have to grow, right? And when I say growth, growth in terms of users, growth in terms of both employers and our users, right? Our system was slowing down, right? Because again, it was not built for that scale. And why growth is good, it's a good problem to have, but then it poses, those kind of issues, right? You have not thought about, okay, hey, are we going to scale? You always think it's always a lot of time to scale up to 40, 50 million users, right? Which is like phenomenal, right? So, we have the system and we have been using caching, and as I told you, we are cloud native. We have been using Memorystore. And why, in a monolithic scenario, it has worked well, right? But when we started breaking it down, and I think even before, breaking it down to microservices, we were having a lot of issues in terms of stability and performance, right? So that's where we started looking at enterprise Redis. there were thoughts, okay, hey, yeah, obviously Redis was the solution which you want to use, and Memorystore is the implementation of Redis. We thought, okay, hey, can we run Redis in house, right? But is that something we are great at? No. So why don't we go with enterprise Redis? And it immediately made a significant difference to both our stability and performance, right? So when I say developer experience, obviously there are many things which I can speak about, but one key thing was that when things go wrong, when there are incidents, right? When systems are down, or maybe some lot of users are facing errors, not able to open job feed, or not able to update profile, or not able to get their connections, right? We are also a social network, right? Community. So
Right.
their feed is not I would say it's still feed is still, right? You're not getting the latest feed, community feed. So developer has to spend a lot of time, mitigating those incidents, right? Looking into issues, figuring out and fixing that, right? And that eats up time away from, your regular task, right? The features which you are going to roll out, maybe today evening, tomorrow, or, next week, right? So, and that's a vicious spiral, right? The more problems you have, you spend more time on fixing them, and you take shortcuts, or, incur tech debt to like the feature which you are building new, and then it keeps on getting worse, right? So one biggest takeaway, or one biggest benefit which we got as soon as we migrated to enterprise Redis, it was quite stable for us. Performance was awesome. And yes, I would like to talk about security. That was also one concern which we had, right? So being on the same network, VPC pairing, but making sure our traffic doesn't go on public internet. So all those things. So it checkbox, it checked all the boxes which we have. And fortunately, it has been working great for us. And then when we started migrating to, microservices, right? Obviously, it's very different ball game, with very microservices, we have more than 120 today. And I launch one every 2 or 3 weeks, depending upon business requirement. So how do we figure out, caching and all those things? And is it going to be, economical? Is it going to make sense? And again, we were skeptic initially, but ultimately, when it comes to TCO, it worked very well for us. I hope that
Right.
answers your.
Yeah, I think I'm like what I'm hearing is like instead of sort of managing Redis, you focused your time on building the future of your business. And sort of after the implementation, you're realizing it was actually also more cost effective to do so. So overall, perhaps a good solution for your organization. Eh, Perfect. And by the way, for our audience here that's sort of say on the verge of picking Redis Enterprise, what would be your recommendation with respect to sort of work via the marketplace or do our direct engagement? I know you did marketplace, but what's your view on that?
So I think it's very context dependent, but it makes sense, because we all have commitment with cloud providers, right? So having it on marketplace, and it's super easy, being on marketplace, right? And single invoice billing and all those things are taken care of. But then it also helps, to make sure that you don't have any security kind of issues or all those things, right? So network configuration and that. But we were talking about TCO, and to be honest, it was a surprise for us that actually enterprise Redis worked out for us in terms of total cost of ownership. Why
Mhm.
it might not with everyone, but I think when in a uh, microservices scenario, when you have a lot of clusters, right, and it helps to have that flexibility which enterprise Redis provide, right? I think in a lot of scenarios, okay, hey, how much RAM do I need? How much data I need to keep in the RAM for, to fast performance? How much, CPUs I need? And for our microservices, depending upon the scenario, there were cases where, you don't need a lot of data in the RAM, but you need, a lot of CPU, right? So those kind of things, and then kind of HA, high availability and other factors, the way Redis provides you different configurations, micro shards, small shards, large shard, high throughput shards. Actually, I think we are a big consumer of high throughput shards. Okay. That actually helps you kind of, figure out the optimal configuration and use it and then reduce your cost. So, and we all know, in today's environment, everybody's cutting down on cloud cost and everybody's optimizing, right? So Redis actually, Enterprise Redis actually helped us optimize our cost to a very large extent.
I love the story, really. It's just from very, humble beginnings to an organization which is, rapidly, scaling peaks and, fighting new technology challenges every day. It's what a great story. What's in the future for Up now? What's the future like?
So I think a lot of things, we have launched, multiple products in last 6 to 7 months. One is like, a database product where, especially for early white collar or gray collar, employers can actually go and search. Like it's more like cold, it's more like a cold, search, like cold calling, right? So while
Right.
people are not for a job, but you can figure out the right candidate, right? And then you can reach out to them through Apna and call them and more. We have seen a lot of success in that, in terms of hiring conversion. So that's one part. And what is also, like we kind of thinking of as something like Community 2.0. And you might all have seen, WhatsApp channels, right? So I would say something
Right.
similar. And see, today the community is between, candidates, right? So, hey, I'm an electrician. I want to network with other electricians and learn from them. There have been cases I can tell you, like the success stories, which we see, and sometimes that makes us feel proud that or believe in our mission that, strengthened our mission that, okay, hey, we could see, hairdressers, beautician, exchanging tips on Apna channel and then reaching out, say, hey, because of this tips, because of this thing, I was able to get a job and, I'm my, income has increased and all those things. So that's exactly our mission, right? So, but we also wanted to create, and we have seen that demand that, okay, employers wants to reach out to a set of candidates, how can we give them platform, right? Because there is no such platform which exists today. So how do
Right.
we, so sort of channels, I would not say it's channels, but, just for a very crude comparison, so that people can understand what I'm talking about. That's gonna be, and obviously, we all know the latest hype, yes, obviously a lot thing has happened over the weekend, and AI. So I
Oh,
mean,
yes, yes.
but, but Gen AI is the craze, right? And to be honest, we have actually just launched something called Apna AI. Okay. And we are integrating Gen AI more and more in our products. The product which we don't launched just now, Apna AI, and I spoke about database, right? We also realized the feedback which we were getting from our employers was that, okay, hey, can you make this search easy for me?
Right.
There are so many different parameters I have to go and select, provide so much information, and I'm a busy person, right? So how do we save time for them and how do we provide them more relevant results? So they just had to give a JD or maybe, a prompt actually, that, okay, hey, I'm looking for this is the location, right? And as I told you, one challenge in India, and we have unique challenges, right? In terms of company names, we have the same company, but in
Wow.
20 different places, right? So we have sold through AI, right? Or people making spelling mistakes, so again, Gen AI, right? So, but those were like
Yeah.
one of the correction of data. But as an employer, if you go to Apna's dashboard and you want to search, you don't have to go and select and, type or you just give the JD, maybe write a prompt, what you think.
Right.
We will create the search string for you, everything, and the results will be available to you. And then you can refine that search, if you need to be. We are seeing great success, great feedback. So that's also another thing which we have been very actively working on. And not only that, right? How do we improve, experience for our candidates, right? We support a lot of languages, right? 18 languages, yes, but in a Roman script, right? So,
Right.
how do we, whenever candidate have some questions, right, on our chat when they reach out, how can we help them? How can we, resolve their queries faster? So if somebody comes and say, okay, hey, I got this call, but employee is asking for money, right? We need to act out very quickly, and we have to verify. How can Gen AI help us do that? So that's also a work in progress.
So many inspiring initiatives around generative AI as well, right? And honestly, I have to share this. This is one of the most incredible sort of customer stories that I've sort of come across in my career. So really, many congratulations to you and the team on building this incredible platform, and you're sort of transforming lives one at a time. And Redis is really honored and very happy to be a part of your journey as well.
Sure. It's really great to partner with Redis.